project started in 2021, prior to the bridge being bid.
Hackensack Trailer is the construction manager on the project.
We invited them up to come see the facility, the equipment, and showed them that we could walk the bridge onto the barge.
One bridge, 3 spans. The new portal north crosses New Jersey's Hackensack River, fed through the surrounding meadowlands.
They could potentially stick build it, but this site was just too difficult to do something of that magnitude.
Carver Companies offered off-site solutions. The Port of Queens played host.
We did a lot of grading work. We installed foundations that allowed for these large bridge spans to be built on land.
We had prior experience bringing bridges across the dock, and the fact that we have a tug and barge fleet that's capable of handling a big 3,000-ton bridge, it just gives us a very competitive advantage.
Here at the port, they could build by the barges, load out, lash, and leave. A short trip with a trio of tugs down the Hudson.
130 nautical miles from the port down to here. All came down to the last couple miles.
But low on headroom up the Hackensack with critical infrastructure considerations.
Tonight, we have no choice. We have to go through there with a max F because of the cave.
20 knots can affect the bridge, set us one way or the other. We know that we have to hit certain low water tides to make the overhead clearances.
3 voyages, thousands of tons of steel, and many more man-hours ride down the Hudson. This is the journey of the Portal North Bridge.
A tremendous amount of planning has gone into ultimately where we are today.
Loadout 1 marks a milestone. The first bridge goes buoyant, setting years of effort and coordination afloat.
We've had weekly calls between Skanska, the engineers, subcontractor D.A. Collins.
We've got Carver Construction and Port of Queens working with Mammut to help on this roll-on.
All right, give us most of the weight. I want to take a couple quick measurements. You got that tape?
Teams deck the dock with timber and ramps, clear the runway for self-propelled modular transporters.
Once they get started, there's no vibration, there's no movement in the trailers at all. It's a completely stable platform.
Axle by axle, the rig climbs aboard. Crews monitor small gaps as the big steel inches ahead.
You don't want this to touch because it point loads onto the mats. So we're trying to make sure that there's an air gap so that we're not damaging the mat or the ramp.
Once it gets to its final position, they will be lowering the bridge down. There's some large steel beams that will rest on shoring points that are pre-positioned with some wood cribbing on the barge itself.
Pipe struts strengthen the arch at the transport mounting points and for placement on site.
The arch is designed to sit on its 4 corners, right? So the temporary struts, those big white tubes, support when we pick it up in the middle, and you have the ones at the other end as well that will support the arch during the slide process on site.
The trailers ride with and help disperse the payload.
The SPMTs will also maintain a percentage of the overall weight, which helps to distribute the load over the entire barge.
Once aboard, shipyard teams secure the segment for transit.
We're executing the engineer's plan for lashing. We're hooking up these chains and binders, getting out of the way of any obstacles, securing them, and making sure this thing goes down the river safely.
There you go, Jay.
While they lash down, towing makes up their spacer barge, a buffer to clear the bridge overhang and be pushed from behind, then break off for placement.
Because they have to separate these 2 barges, we could not weld 2 barges together, one solid piece. So they had to be connected somehow. That's where the wire push gear and the turnbuckles came in to hold them fast.
Loaded, lashed, and tomorrow underway.
The Aaron will be the primary tug. Daisy's gonna be up front, leading the way. The official air draft is gonna be 102 feet, 7 inches. Deep draft is 14 feet on the barge, this barge right here. It's actually on the port quarter.
0600. One last talk through, and the bridge sets sail.
We'll work against the pike. We'll get it out sideways into the stream, make sure we can go directly south. The Daisy will then position herself even further ahead. The pike will go all stop, and then we'll all come slowly ahead. We'll take tension on the tow wire a little bit at a time, and we'll start adding the RPMs as we go.
From the wheelhouse, they add speed.
2.3 Clemens slower.
The deck, redundancy.
We're adding extra lines. They're called safeties. If anything happens to any of the other rigging, it just gives us a little backup.
It's smooth sailing expected down the Hudson. Ice-free, While the bridge's high profile is unusual, its tonnage and footprint fall well within the norm.
Dimensionally, this is 4 standards, 4 loaded standards, a little deeper than normal.
Right. Progress is slow and steady. Uneventful is good. By hour 10, the tide works against the tow, but the turn is coming.
About almost halfway down the Hudson River. Now we're currently bucking currents, so it's flood tide right now. We'll pick back up, slack water to the ebb. Well, we're going to increase our speed some more, averaging about 5 to 5.5 knots. And then on a max ebb, we'll be doing 6 knots.
Night falls. The tugs churn on. Crews conduct deck checks.
We checked all of our hard lines, soft lines, cables, hawsers, stored lines that aren't in use, water levels, hatches. Everything is looking good.
They pass by and under landmarks, both iconic and familiar.
We did Willis Avenue Bridge. We did the Mario Cuomo Bridge, which was the former Tappan Zee Bridge. It becomes simple, it becomes repetitious. And, you know, repetitious is good when you're building bridges. It's no different than a manufacturing facility. We're just manufacturing very large pieces here at the port.
It's minimal traffic on a moonless night. The bridge breezes through New York Harbor.
A lot of planning, working with the United States Coast Guard, Sector New York, Vessel Traffic Services, so we don't interrupt the scheduled container ships, bulkers, and other tankers passing through.
With most miles behind them, Voyage 1 validates the tow plan.
Before we departed, my concern was that the barge was possibly going to shear, which is digging side to side, and we did not have that at all. She towed really, really nice.
There's always going to be lessons learned, even if you do the same job every day, but these will just be small nuances.
Morning brings a short berth, biding time in Port Newark, a wait for slack water when currents are weakest. Then it's up the Hackensack and below a series of bridges, fixed, draw, and swing, culminating with the existing portal.
Lincoln Highway Bridge answered. Yes, sir, we are knocking on your door inbound. The towing vessel's Aaron Elizabeth. Aaron Elizabeth, roger that. What is your height? Yeah, 106. We need a full opening. Roger that, thank you. Keep it coming.
I mean, I've worked at the Hackensack many years. Used to be oil docks up here, so I've been up here many times, but nothing like this.
Stepping pretty good here, fellas, coming out from under the bridge.
You always have to have a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C, at least in your mind. But as intimidating as this all looks, it really isn't much more than lots of things we do already.
Hey, Carver, Free Bridge is going up. Carver, Free Bridge is going up. All right, so you are going to run up on the other side of the bridges and stand by the starboard side to catch them.
Correct.
Sean, once my stern gets up through the freight bridge, really keep an eye on me back there.
Okay, we'll do.
Looking down the other flat of the wall now. We were about 30 feet on the inside, 5 feet closing. You can keep coming to the port.
Coming.
Give me a good twist, please.
Once the team maneuvers through the triples, the old portal becomes the last barrier to entry. A heavily used Amtrak line still. Outages are dead of night only, and critical utilities run overhead.
Due to the air draft, we can only transit through at 3:15 in the morning.
We have to wait until the tide drops sufficiently to get the arch under the cable. But so far, so good.
Due to the currents, we're going to get underway a little early, so we're not pinned into the coal dock.
An ebb tide flows down the Hackensack. The tugs push off towards the portal.
So we're actually waiting for the tide to come down so that we can fit under a fiber optic cable. At the same time, that current which we're waiting for to allow us to get in is making the job much more complicated.
Delivery times up with a downpour.
You got slickers, Brian?
Currents work heavily against the barge's 14-foot draft, and the bridge blocks visibility.
I can't see down the sides at all, so Brian, who's down on deck, who has better vision and can tell me what's going on, gives me course correction.
400 feet ahead, I can actually see where the current lines are going to come around the bends. I'm informing the captain as we come through.
You have a little bit more ahead on Aaron.
A little more.
It all sets it up, because ultimately, once we make the final turn here to go through the bridge, we only have less than 2 feet on either side to get through safely and successfully.
All right, Cap, we're good to go. Let's go nice and slow. Aaron, dead slow ahead.
Dead slow.
Daisy, dead slow ahead. Dead slow. Pike, shimmy on around, please, too, on the western bank. Around the other side.
Dead slow and dead certainty. Once. twice, thrice, piece by piece, through rain, snow, and ice. Carver Marine Towing delivers the Portal North Bridge.
Every job is different, every landing is different. Weather's always different. The current could be running 2 knots one day, and then the next time it's running less than a knot, so all that matters.
On site, they delash the spacer barge, deballast, and raise the bridge. At high tide, they'll transfer to Bent's Cross River. Then a jacking barge slides in for final placement.
On the center span, we're only going to be down to less than a foot on either side. So the final and third piece is going to be the most critical point of this whole placement.
The center span arrives last. Tight tolerances require the tugs push the barge's broadside.
We actually going to push the barge in place sideways, so our push gear is actually going to be in the middle of the barge.
Where you normally would make up on the stern, the bow is raked, so that water has got a place to go. This one, when we pull it out and push against the current, it's a brick wall, so it'll be interesting.
One bridge, one route, 3 distinct operations, stamped by weather, tide, and traffic.
Conrail has the train on their bridge, so you gotta talk to them. Yeah, thank you.
You can plan anything you want, but you always know there's going to be monkey wrenches someplace in it, you know what I mean?
2 feet.
The unforeseen comes with the territory. Carver Companies is built for it.
When we started doing our first bridge in 2010, we were just really a host where it was built. And then we creatively watched and learned how we could develop that further and how do we get more bites of the apple.
We have the acreage and the space and the resources and facilities here that can support these types of projects.
It's just, one after the other. Tight spots, unnormal tows.
The leadership is fantastic. The manpower next to none to another success.